Throughout our lives, we are afflicted with the idea of the future and the happens of the past. And I feel like it's nothing but human nature to live too much in our previous memories rather than experiencing what is going on now. Like those days in school where you had to make a presentation or a project, and then the next day or a couple of weeks later you'd have to present it in class. And every night before a presentation you'd sit up and practice every single line until you got it memorized. Then it'd be your turn to present and you'd still be anxious. And for this reason, I feel like even as children, we're focused too much on what could occur rather than what is currently happening. And we oftentimes lack the discipline to acknowledge the good options and good things that are happening, and instead we focus on all the bad things that happen in our lives. Often we let all the bad possibilities outweigh the good options as well. We let one con destroy all of the pros that were there. And I'm not sure why it is, but it's so much easier to accept bad things happening rather than good. I mean, you go around school, you hear rumors about people, and most of the time they're bad. And once you hear a bad rumor, it's almost like you instantly agree, or not agree, but you instantly take that and you're accepting it in your mind. And when you hear a good thing, you're always taking a double take in order to really assess whether or not that really occurred, or assess whether or not that person really has that quality. But as weird as this may seem, it makes sense. I mean, it's so much easier to go on through life accepting the faults of other people, because it makes you realize how human they are, and you get to really see that everyone has their own complex life that they're going through, and you're not alone in your battle. We too often look at other people and idolize them as if they don't have their own stuff to deal with, and then we expect ourselves to be similar to this false idol. I feel like we need to take the time as people to sit down and realize that we aren't made to do everything. The lead guitarist in a band isn't always going to be the lead singer. That is to say that we all have defining qualities that make us special, that make us unique, and I feel like we need to actually compound on what we have rather than what we don't in order to truly be ourselves. And I feel like when you sit and replicate and you try to be someone else, you're losing parts of yourself. And we also think that who we are is who we are, and we aren't subject to change. We refuse to change for any type of predicament. If growth is your goal, then change is inevitable. You have to change in order to grow. We let the past dictate who we are and then expect the future or future selves to be different from our current. And this faulty notion that we can't change who we are is the same thing that's causing these expectations to get into your head and give you anxiety. Famous philosopher Seneca once said, "They lose the day in expectation of the night, and then they lose the night in fear of the dawn." Basically saying that we often worry too much about what's going to occur in the future rather than living in the present moment now. Now, that's not me saying that you shouldn't ever think about what's going to happen. Of course, you should think before you act and make sure all your actions have reasoning to them. However, don't let those thoughts of other people's expectations and even faulty expectations of your own due to, I don't know, your insecurities or something, shackle you from doing what you want. Time literally only exists in the present. So if you're too bogged down in your memories of the past and too riled up about your assumptions of the future, you're not really living. You're not really existing in the moment. You're not really existing. Worrying about what could occur is not ever going to change the outcome of what is going to happen. Whatever happens is going to happen regardless of what you do. We allow the existence of a bad outcome to stop us from doing anything where we have a potential gain from. And that's like saying you don't like going to the movies because movies end. But that's not true. You're going to sit and watch the movie because you're going to enjoy every moment of the movie as it's progressing towards its ending. So why don't we get rid of all these expectations? While they seem like terrible things, they can be beneficial to your success as a person and whatever you may want to achieve in your life. But in order to protect our ego, we oftentimes lower our expectations of ourselves in order to avoid some type of disappointment. I mean, to some extent in my experience, humbleness was just a fancy way of lowering other people's expectations of me. It's not like saying that you have to be arrogant or you have to be overzealous in the way that you express yourself, but you need to take the time to appreciate all of the good parts about yourself in order to compound on who you are as a person and make sure that person is good. And if you don't do anything like that, you're going to end up falling into the expectations of other people rather than yourself. And then when you see someone acting confident or any type of arrogant, you expect them to do whatever they're professing or expressing in a good manner, but that doesn't necessarily, that's your expectation. So the same thing is going to happen in reverse. The expectations of other people are just going to be attached to you. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do exactly what they're expecting. And why does it even matter? I mean, we should always take the opinions of others with a grain of salt. Only focus on your own interpretation of who you are, because you're going to be the final one and the only one who gets to dictate and decide who you are as a person through your mannerisms and through your depth of character. These external opinions and people don't necessarily know what's going on inside your internal world, so they don't really know who you are in a sense. So how are they going to attach expectations to you when they don't know who you are? So why don't we just walk around like we're kings or royalty or something? I mean, we have nothing, almost nothing to lose and everything to gain. So as a collective, we need to learn how to normalize our own judgments, and rather than accept all of society's nonsense, we need to set our own expectations for ourselves and be the person that we want to be, or the person that we are. We are here for too short a time in order to get bogged down in all this nonsense and not exist. I mean, the longer we are worried about the expectations of others and looking through our past and looking into our future, the less time we actually get to spend living in the moment. And that's why I feel like people are always like, man, time passed me by. And then if you really think about it, think back, that was so long ago what you're talking about. It just feels like that because you're only been focused on these little select memories rather than creating them in the now. It's also too short to be worried about other people's opinions about you.